Welcome to U.S. Military Analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, we are witnessing one of the most dangerous moments in modern Middle Eastern history. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has just declared war on the IRGC itself. Why? Because the IRGC deliberately sabotaged the negotiation table that Pezeshkian was desperately trying to save. At the exact moment the president was fighting for diplomacy, the IRGC escalated without warning. They attacked commercial shipping, struck oil terminals in the UAE, and launched missiles at sovereign Arab territory. This wasn't just defiance. This was a direct challenge to civilian authority inside Iran. And now, the consequences are exploding across the region. War is returning to the Middle East, and this time it is bigger, more ruthless, and far more unpredictable than anything we have seen in recent years. I have to be direct with you. What we're seeing right now is not just another Iran-Israel clash. This is the beginning of a potential regional meltdown. Inside Iran, the rift between the elected president and the IRGC has turned into open political warfare. Outside Iran, the Gulf Arab states have reached their breaking point. The UAE is furious. Saudi Arabia is mobilizing beside them. Even Qatar, long seen as sympathetic to Tehran, has flipped and declared solidarity with the Emiratis. The Fujairah oil terminal, the crown jewel of the UAE's bypass strategy, is in flames. Hundreds of missiles and drones were fired, dozens injured. The patience of the Gulf has finally snapped. This is the moment everything changes. Stay with me as we break down exactly how we got here, the terrifying military balance on the table, and what's coming in the next 24 to 48 hours. You're watching U.S. Military Analysis. Let's begin. Welcome back. Now let's go straight to the heart of the crisis unfolding inside Tehran. What we are witnessing is not just another policy disagreement. This is an open political rupture at the very top of the Iranian regime. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has effectively declared war on the IRGC's dominance. Why? Because while he was fighting desperately to keep fragile negotiations alive, the Revolutionary Guard Corps sabotaged the entire process with overwhelming force and zero coordination. At the precise moment Pezeshkian was trying to de-escalate and save diplomacy, the IRGC launched a wave of attacks. Commercial ships were hit in the Strait of Hormuz, and then, without any warning to the civilian government, they fired ballistic missiles and drones directly at the United Arab Emirates. According to reports from Iran International and Fox News, on May 4th and 5th, the IRGC described these strikes as preemptive, claiming they had to hit first because they believed the United States was preparing a major assault anyway. Pezeshkian rejected that explanation outright. In an unprecedented outburst, the president called the IRGC's actions completely irresponsible and pure madness. He warned that these moves could trigger irreversible consequences for the entire regime. I have to tell you, this is extraordinary language coming from a sitting Iranian president toward the IRGC. Pezeshkian didn't stop at criticism of tactics. He went much deeper. He demanded an emergency meeting, harshly confronted IRGC Commander Ahmed Vahidi, and insisted that full executive authority must be returned to civilian governance. According to multiple sources in Tehran, Vahidi and senior IRGC commanders flatly rejected that demand. This rejection reveals something far more dangerous than a simple policy clash. The rift between Iran's elected civilian leadership and its military ideological wing has now become too wide to hide. Pezeshkian stands for diplomacy. The IRGC stands for war. While the president was making near desperate calls for the regime not to attack its Gulf neighbors, The IRGC moved in the exact opposite direction. They struck commercial vessels, including a South Korean flagged ship and British cargo vessels. They targeted the UAE's critical energy infrastructure. This uncontrolled escalation has shattered years of uneasy tolerance from the Gulf Arab states. For decades, Iran played a careful game. Proxy pressure combined with diplomatic channels through Qatar and Oman. But by directly hitting sovereign Arab territory, especially the Fujairah bypass terminal, the IRGC has crossed a red line that cannot be ignored. We are now seeing the regime tearing itself apart from within at the exact moment the outside pressure is reaching a boiling point. Pezeshkian has the title of president, but the IRGC controls the weapons, the intelligence apparatus, the missiles, and the operational command. He has rhetoric, they have raw power. This internal conflict is not a side story. It is now the central drama driving the entire regional crisis. Because when a regime is fighting itself, its decisions become erratic, desperate, and extremely dangerous. And that danger has already spilled across the Gulf. Stay with me. In the next section, we will examine how the Arab world is responding to this provocation and why this time it may be different from anything we have seen before. The spark has now become a wildfire. The IRGC's reckless strike on the United Arab Emirates has done what years of proxy attacks and tanker seizures could not. It has finally united the Gulf Arab states in open fury. On May 4th, Iranian drones and missiles slammed into the Fujairah petroleum industry zone. A massive fire erupted at this critical oil hub, the very facility built to bypass the Strait of Hormuz and free the UAE from Iranian blackmail. 3 Indian nationals were injured in the attack. UAE air defenses engaged 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones in a single day. But the message was crystal clear. Iran deliberately targeted the crown jewel of the UAE's energy independence. This was the final straw. I have to be blunt with you. The patience that the Gulf states had shown for years is now completely gone. For decades, they tolerated Iranian gangsterism in the Hormuz Strait, building bypass pipelines and trying diplomatic off-ramps. But striking Fujairah directly crossed a sacred red line. The UAE's response was swift and uncompromising. The Ministry of Defense stated it reserves the full right to a legitimate and decisive retaliation. Schools across the country shifted to remote learning. Civil defense protocols were raised to the highest level. And in a particularly chilling statement, a senior advisor to the ruler of Fujairah declared, "By God, what the United States and Israel started but could not finish, we the Arabs will finish it. We will bring Iran's end." This is not empty rhetoric. This is a declaration of intent. Saudi Arabia immediately stood shoulder to shoulder with its Emirati brothers. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held an urgent call with UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed. The Saudi Foreign Ministry condemned the attacks in the strongest terms and confirmed joint military meetings have already begun. Riyadh made it clear any attack on the UAE is an attack on Saudi Arabia. Even more surprising was Qatar's rapid shift. Long viewed as relatively close to Tehran and often acting as a mediator, Qatar issued a strong condemnation, calling the strikes a blatant violation of UAE sovereignty and expressing full solidarity. This quiet but decisive pivot may well be the result of sustained American diplomacy in the region over the past year. Bahrain went further, declaring a national emergency and suspending flights. Qatar and the UAE have introduced limited airspace restrictions. The message is unmistakable. The Gulf is locking down and preparing for conflict. What makes this moment truly historic is something we have rarely seen before. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bahrain, are signaling their willingness to conduct an independent military campaign against Iran in their own waters, without waiting for American or Israeli approval. This could be the ultimate game changer. Until now, this conflict was framed as America's war or Israel's war. But if an Arab coalition enters the fight in clear self-defense after being attacked without provocation, the political dynamics shift dramatically. Opposing legitimate Arab retaliation becomes far more difficult for anyone, including voices in the West. We are watching the birth of a new regional power alignment in real time. The same Gulf states that once tried to accommodate Iran are now aligning their advanced air forces, missile defenses, and economic might against Tehran. The IRGC thought striking the UAE would force the region to back down or fracture. Instead, they have united their enemies and handed them a just cause. The ring around Iran is tightening, from within and from without. In the next section, we will dive deep into the military balance, exactly how strong this emerging Arab coalition has become, and why Iran may no longer have the conventional tools to survive what is coming. Stay right here. This is U.S. military analysis. This is where the numbers become truly sobering. While Iran tears itself apart internally, a powerful Arab coalition is assembling on its doorstep with capabilities that dwarf anything the IRGC can field in a conventional fight. Let's break it down. Saudi Arabia operates one of the most formidable air forces in the region. With nearly 450 combat aircraft, including advanced F-15 variants, Eurofighter Typhoons, and Tornadoes, the Royal Saudi Air Force enjoys clear superiority in modernity, range, and precision strike capacity. Their defense budget exceeds $75 billion annually, larger than Russia's, France's, or Japan's. Most importantly, Saudi Arabia fields the largest Patriot missile defense network outside the United States, 108 launchers across 6 battalions. In January 2026, the U.S. approved a massive $9 billion emergency package for 730 PAC-3 MSE interceptors. This is not just backup. This is layered, battle-tested defense. During the recent exchanges, Saudi systems have already intercepted the majority of incoming Iranian ballistic missiles with impressive success rates. Add to that the hard-won experience from the decade-long Yemen campaign. Saudi pilots have flown more than 25,000 combat sorties, forging a generation of battle-hardened aviators that few nations in the Gulf can match. Now look at the UAE. The force General James Mattis famously called Little Sparta. The UAE Air Force operates 78 of the most advanced F-16s in the world, the Block 60 Desert Falcon. These jets are superior to standard US F-16s, equipped with cutting-edge electronic warfare suites, superior sensors, and unmatched multi-role capability. UAE forces gained real combat experience in Yemen, Libya, Syria, and beyond, often outperforming their larger Saudi counterparts in ground integration and precision operations. Their integration of the THAAD system, combined with participation in U.S. red flag exercises since 2009, has created one of the most professional and interoperable militaries in the Middle East. But here is what changes everything: the massive surge in Western and allied support. In early May 2026, the Trump administration used emergency authority to push through an $8.6 billion arms package to Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Israel. This includes Patriot replenishment, APKWS precision rockets, advanced radars, and critical munitions, all bypassing normal congressional review. Even more striking is the new cooperation with Ukraine. In April 2026, President Zelensky signed 10-year drone deal agreements with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. Over 200 Ukrainian experts have already deployed to the Gulf. They are transferring battle-proven counter-drone systems, interceptor drones, electronic warfare packages, and the Sky Map system. Technologies refined through years of brutal combat against Russian Shahed-style drones. This partnership may have permanently broken the IRGC's once-feared drone advantage. When you combine all of this, Saudi F-15 strike packages, UAE Desert Falcons with superior sensors, layered Patriot and THAAD defenses, Ukrainian asymmetric warfare expertise, and the continuous flow of American Super Hornets from carriers like the USS Abraham Lincoln, the emerging Gulf coalition possesses air superiority, missile dominance, and drone countermeasures that Iran simply cannot match. Iran's navy is largely reduced to small boats and asymmetric threats. Its air force is aging and outnumbered. Its air defense network has already been heavily degraded by previous U.S. and Israeli strikes. I have to be direct with you. The conventional military balance has never been this lopsided against Iran in modern history. The IRGC's only remaining cards are ballistic missiles, drones, and proxy militias, tools that are proving less and less effective against these layered, high-tech defenses. This is not speculation. This is the hard military reality on the ground right now. The Gulf states are no longer just wealthy spectators. They have become a formidable, combat-capable coalition with the money, the weapons, the experience, and, most dangerously for Tehran, the political will to act. In the next section, we will examine the possible scenarios for the coming hours and days, and why the IRGC's desperate gamble may accelerate the very downfall they are trying to avoid. You're watching U.S. Military Analysis. Stay with us. Welcome back to U.S. Military Analysis. The stage is now set. Tensions are at a breaking point. The question everyone is asking is, what happens in the next 24 to 72 hours? After analyzing the military balance, I see three primary scenarios on the table. Each one carries enormous consequences. Scenario 1, limited symbolic retaliation. The UAE carries out a measured symbolic strike, perhaps a precision missile or drone attack on a remote IRGC missile site or radar installation inside Iran. They declare justice has been served and step back. Joint Saudi-UAE military meetings happening right now may be discussing exactly this option. However, I strongly believe President Trump has already delivered a clear message to Riyadh and Abu Dhabi. Not yet. We are in control. Do not disrupt the plan. The American strategy appears to be slowly strangling the regime through blockade and maximum pressure. A premature Arab strike could complicate that larger operation. This scenario remains possible, but increasingly unlikely. Scenario 2, renewed U.S.-Israeli strikes. According to sources close to the Pentagon, American and Israeli forces could resume major kinetic operations within the next 24 to 48 hours. Targets may expand beyond previous strikes to include nuclear facilities in Isfahan and critical military infrastructure at Bushehr. The Israeli military is already on its highest alert level. Evacuation orders issued for refineries in southern Iran suggest Tehran is bracing for exactly this possibility. With Iran's air defense network heavily degraded, American Super Hornets from the USS Abraham Lincoln and Israeli F-35s could operate with relative freedom. This scenario would dramatically escalate the conflict and push Iran closer to the edge. Scenario 3, coordinated Arab coalition offensive, the most dangerous. This is the game-changing scenario. Saudi F-15s and UAE F-16 Desert Falcons, supported by American intelligence and Ukrainian counter-drone systems, launched coordinated strikes on Iranian ports, missile launchers, radar stations, and Revolutionary Guard bases. Because previous U.S. and Israeli operations have already weakened Iran's air defenses, Arab pilots could hit fixed targets with high success rates. For the first time in modern history, an independent Arab coalition would be directly striking the Iranian mainland in legitimate self-defense. This changes everything politically. It would no longer be just Trump's war or Israel's war. It becomes an Arab war of retaliation. That shift makes international criticism far more difficult. Now let's understand the IRGC's dangerous calculation. The regime is fractured internally. During the ceasefire, they fight each other. During war, they tend to unite. The economic blockade is slowly killing them. They cannot surrender. They cannot maintain the status quo. Their only remaining option is escalation, hoping to drag the conflict out, hide among the population, and outlast their enemies through asymmetric warfare. But this time, their opponents are completely different. Trump does not back down. Netanyahu does not back down. MBS and the Emiratis do not back down. The IRGC is facing a coalition that has both the capability and the political will to finish what they started. Pezeshkian's attempt to restrain the IRGC looks increasingly futile. He has words. The IRGC has the guns, the missiles, and the command structure. Whatever scenario unfolds, one thing is certain. Iran's desperate gamble to light a fire abroad to extinguish its internal crisis has backfired spectacularly. The flames are now burning hotter than ever. In our final section, we will step back and examine how Iran's own strategic mistakes over the past 40 years have led them into this deadly trap. Stay with me. This is U.S. Military Analysis. Let's take a step back and understand how Iran walked itself into this strategic disaster. For nearly 40 years, Iran played a sophisticated double game in the Gulf. Their strategy was simple but effective. We are not your enemy. America and Israel are the real threats. Through proxy militias, controlled provocations, and back-channel diplomacy via Qatar and Oman, Tehran managed to pressure its neighbors while keeping trade and dialogue alive. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, and others turned a blind eye to Iranian harassment in the Strait of Hormuz, preferring stability over direct confrontation. All of that accumulated diplomatic capital was burned to ashes in a single night, March 18th, 2026. In one reckless operation, Iran struck Qatar's LNG facilities, threatened UAE gas infrastructure, and launched missiles toward Riyadh. They transformed themselves from a manageable nuisance into a clear and present danger to every Arab state in the Gulf. The result was catastrophic for Tehran. All mediation channels slammed shut. Qatar, once Iran's quiet partner, now stands firmly with the UAE. Pakistan has deployed 15,000 troops to Saudi Arabia. Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and even Syria are aligning against Iran. Russia calls itself a friend, but offers no meaningful military support, no advanced air defenses, no major weapon shipments. China, Iran's largest oil buyer, remains silent, unwilling to risk its massive trade relationships with the Gulf states. Iran has never been this isolated in its modern history. A nation of 88 million people, crushed under layers of sanctions, with bombed infrastructure and assassinated leaders, now faces a wealthy, determined Gulf coalition worth over $2 trillion. The very military machine Saudi Arabia built for a war it never wanted has become the most capable Arab fighting force since Egypt crossed the Suez in 1973. Inside Iran, President Pezeshkian has declared war on the IRGC, but he controls only rhetoric. The IRGC controls the weapons and the streets. Outside Iran, a unified Arab coalition is rising, backed by Saudi F-15s, UAE's Little Sparta, American emergency weapons, and Ukrainian drone warfare expertise. Iran has no functioning navy left to contest the Gulf, no credible air force, and an air defense system already lying in ruins. This is the most critical breaking point in Iran's modern history. The regime tried to start a fire abroad to extinguish the flames at home. Instead, the wind shifted, and those flames have now engulfed them from every direction. I have to be honest with you. The cost of desperation is almost always higher than calculated. Iran's madman strategy did not force the world into a ceasefire. It forced the Gulf states into America's camp and created the very coalition that may bring the regime to its knees. The next few days will be decisive. Whether it's limited retaliation, major U.S.-Israeli strikes, or a full Arab-led offensive, one thing is clear. The era of Iranian dominance through fear in the Gulf is coming to a violent end. Now I want to hear from you. Can Pezeshkian regain control and stop the IRGC before it's too late? Will the Arab coalition launch direct strikes on Iranian territory? And most importantly, how far will this conflict go? Drop your strongest thoughts in the comments below. If you're getting value from this deep military analysis, please hit like, subscribe to U.S. Military Analysis, and turn on notifications. We will continue bringing you real-time updates as this crisis develops. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay strong. This is U.S. Military Analysis. We'll see you in the next update. Welcome back to the final moments of this U.S. military analysis. Iran now stands at the most dangerous crossroads in its entire modern history. Inside the regime, President Pezeshkian has openly declared war on the IRGC, yet the Guard still holds the guns, the missiles, and the real power. Outside its borders, a powerful Arab coalition, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Bahrain, has united with unprecedented speed and resolve. Backed by advanced American weaponry, Ukrainian drone expertise, and years of combat experience, this coalition is no longer willing to tolerate Iranian aggression. The strategic trap Iran built for itself is now closing. 40 years of careful maneuvering in the Gulf was destroyed in a single night of madness. Today, Tehran finds itself diplomatically isolated, militarily outmatched, and internally fractured. This is not just another crisis. This is a potential turning point that could reshape the entire Middle East for the next generation. I want to hear your thoughts right now. Can Pezeshkian stop the IRGC before it's too late? Will the Arab coalition actually launch direct strikes on Iranian soil? How far will this conflict escalate in the coming days? Drop your strongest analysis and predictions in the comments below. I read every single one. If you value honest, in-depth military breakdowns like this, please smash that like button, subscribe to U.S. Military Analysis, and turn on the notification bell. We are tracking this situation hour by hour, and the next 48 hours may prove decisive. Thank you for watching until the end. The situation is fluid, dangerous, and historic. Stay vigilant. Stay informed. This is U.S. Military Analysis. I'll see you in the next critical update. God bless our troops, and take care out there.